as you all know, there are certain drugs available on the market for men who have erectile dysfunction, but there aren't any drugs available for women who might have sexual dysfunction. And some people are arguing that this is sexist, which I think is interesting because we have discussed a female Viagra and how it is a ploy by pharmaceutical companies to basically sell these types of drugs to women and make them think that they have sexual dysfunctions when they probably don't, right? Now, The Atlantic wrote this really great piece kind of covering it from a lot of different angles, and they talked about the sexual inequality aspect of it, which I'd never thought about, and I'm not really sure I'm buying it yet, but I want you guys to have the discussion with us. So The Atlantic talks about how Viagra is different from this female drug. It's known as flibanserin, okay, flibanserin. And
I would come up with a different name, but anyway.
Yeah, flibanserin is an unfortunate name. Okay, Viagra rolls off the tongue.
Right, and it sounds a little bit like flipping the bean, so that's also weird. Anyway, okay, keep going.
All right, so unlike Viagra, for example, flibanserin is taken daily not only in anticipation of sexual activity. Viagra addresses blood flow while flibanserin works on the chemicals in a woman's brain. So it actually impacts the dopamine and serotonin in a woman's brain. But there are issues that you should take into consideration. When a woman is not, in the mood to have sex, or she usually is not interested in having sex, there could be biological factors at play, there could be psychological factors at play, there could be societal factors at play. So it's really hard to pinpoint what's going on with the woman. Is she in a relationship that she's unhappy with? She's probably not going to want to have sex with that guy. Does it make sense to market a sexual dysfunction drug to her? So that's one of the many issues that plays a role in this issue.
And already the first part of the story is interesting because if you want to have a drug that works for guys, you direct it toward their penis. If you want to have a drug that works towards women, you direct it towards their head.
That's hilarious. I didn't think about that. And also keep in mind that sexual desire and sexual arousal for women are two completely different things. You can have no desire to have sex, but you could still be aroused, which means that your body will be ready for sex, okay? You might get a little moist down there or whatever, but you might not actually desire the sex. So women are a little more complex in that way.
Women are definitely more complex than men. If the flag is up, we're ready to go, right? They're like, what else is necessary?
Right.
Oh, are you in the right mood? Well, I'm already flying the flag, aren't I? Okay, so where's the question?
Yeah. So, look, my concern is that this kind of drug is, again, just a ploy for pharmaceutical companies to diagnose women who might just be stressed out and they don't want to have sex for those reasons, right? Diagnose them with some serious psychological or sexual dysfunction and then push drugs on them. But I do think it's also an interesting point that there are options for men, but there are no options for women. And if you are in a marriage or in a relationship and you have no sexual desire, that could really destroy the relationship, obviously.
No, I hear you, man. So there's good arguments to be made for trying this. On the other hand, when we're messing with the chemicals in our brain, yeah, I'm a little concerned. Yeah, but at the same time, look, it's probably going to help people too. So there's no easy answer here.
I think that it might be important to have that option available for women who might really struggle with sexual desire, and it has nothing to do with their relationship. It has nothing to do with stress. It's really just an imbalance in their brain or something that's really making them not want to have sex, right? The option's important to have, but I think if anything, the more important thing to do is have the proper regulations in place to make sure that pharmaceutical companies don't have the type of influence they do have on doctors, on the diagnostic statistical manual. That's one of the reasons why so many people are overprescribed so many prescription drugs. Pharmaceutical companies are in bed with a lot of these doctors and with the people who basically write the DSM. So that concerns me more than having a drug available for people who might seriously have this issue.
In the end, the pharmaceutical companies are going to come up with a drug that makes doctors prescribe all of their drugs. Okay. I mean, we're in some weird way have turned into a country of zombies, all hooked up to different kinds of drugs being led around by pharmaceutical companies we're not even aware of, because the doctors get incentivized to push these drugs on us, and then our kids are walking around with all these different buttons pushed in their heads, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it helps you, and look, it's not all bad, it's not all evil, and a lot of these drugs help people, right? and then you get a bad combination in there, and for a lot of people it doesn't work, and it's counterproductive. And the other part of it is, sometimes it's just okay to be human. It's okay to be, down for some time. It's different from massive clinical depression. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that that's to be flippant about that, right? And sometimes it's okay if you can't completely concentrate. That was also human back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, I'm going to take this drug to go up, and this one to go down, and this one to concentrate, and this one to relax, and this one to sleep, and this one to make sure I don't sleep. And then you're taking all this shit. Okay, or why don't you stop taking all of them and just be a human being?
What I found really interesting when it came to like clinical trials and certain panels about this female version of Viagra, the FDA actually had like a group of women for like a summit, and they were kind of discussing sexual dysfunction among women, and these women were talking about how they had issues with sexual desire and everything, and how important it was for them to have this option. Later on, it turns out that one of the reporters that was covering this was very skeptical about some of the answers that the women gave. It seemed as though they had been coached by the pharmaceutical company to say certain things to the FDA so the FDA would approve this type of drug. And also, Elle magazine wrote this really long feature about a woman. It was like a profile about a woman who was dealing with sexual desire issues. And then she did a clinical trial, and all of a sudden it changed her life. It was great. Later on, they found out that the pharmaceutical company was working with her, and they wrote this piece. So keep all those things in mind, okay? There's a huge profit motive here, and that could severely influence the way things are prescribed to people.
And I think my main takeaway from this story is that I invented a new term called flying the flag. I made that up. There's no such thing, as far as I know.